What's up, my travel buddies? What's up, my thrill chasers? What up, my adventure seekers? How you guys doing? It's been a couple days. I want to say this first and foremost. I put a short film out Monday that I had recorded with my uncle on Sunday, and I had used the app, and I thought everything was a-okay with the video. And then I had looked at the video on YouTube, and I was like, cringe. I had that cringe moment where you're like, oh my gosh, like it was pretty bad, right? I'm going to re-release that, re-edit it, and then I'm going to do my first Facebook ad on my new Facebook page, Going Down the Rabbit Hole with John Lee from 1983. Starting today, I have a little bit more free time on my hands because yesterday I was surprised with some bittersweet news. My employer that I had been with for the last 4 years said goodbye to me, and it was abrupt, it was quick, and completely caught me off guard. I was getting ready to put money down on the place in Louisville and transition from my hotel room, and then I got some more disturbing news. And not only was I released, but based upon things that were said regarding my handling of my business, there was like a 1% margin of error or something they calculated with all the claims and everything I've handled, where they found some minute errors. Now, personally, I think that that's not the case. I was still surprised, but you really shouldn't be surprised when you bring people into your world and you are not aware of them and you don't know their background. You should be highly mindful of your interactions with others, whether it's what you guys perceive to be good or is something developing. And ultimately, I feel like because in my profession, we do a lot of networking amongst each other, that kind of came back and played me, because we know the world that we live in is no different than high school. People have they cliques and they click and their friends, and they have the people they look at, and we know that at times, especially with guys, because let me raise my right hand, I've been guilty of it. A guy will hear a female's perception of something and then personalize it and be like, oh, I ain't gonna deal with dude, without having the conversation first. And I'm not saying that's the case, but just know that I am okay. It's different when you get reprimanded for something that happened months and months in past tense that comes to the light. It wasn't something that actually happened where it could be like a teachable moment, but yet and still, it opened the door to this conversation. So I'm glad to be having this conversation. So I want to share with you guys something that I have been thinking about since this morning. And that would be the 27 emotions. And according to what I read on Forbes, these are the personalities I sit there and say that we all have. I sit and say, depending on what moment we're in, we are either unconsciously being moved by the active voice, or we are aware of the active voice in our head. Either or, that active voice has intent, and that intent is based upon the emotional list. Now, I've heard people quantify this and make it more than 27, but to just paraphrase and keep it real short, my G got 3 columns, 9 each. So let's run down the gauntlet going left to right. We got anger, fear, anxiety, surprise, awkwardness, contempt, pride, calmness, sadness, disappointment, disgust, action, envy, boredom, interest, confusion, guilt, excitement, shame, love, loneliness, amusement, awe, and compassion. These are 27 different character traits that I feel are actively inside of us, and depending on our dominant traits, they are either in cahoots with it and they're saying you sit back or you come forward, or they are in correlation with each other and they take turns as needed being that person. That's how you have a person who is quiet and can be very observant and then say something, and then when you have a rebuttal, they can become defensive and be ready for war because they had maybe a specific intent with that question, and depending on how you responded to it, if they found it warranted, they were going to react to you in accordance. And that's when you got the guy like, "What you say?" Something like that. That's what I'm alluding to. So yesterday I wasn't surprised. I've been faithful. I love my company. I love working for them. I absolutely have nothing bad to say. But being that I work for myself and through different vendors, there's a less protection. And that's like when I left the auto industry. UAW really have you covered on so many regards, but at the same time, when you have that luxury of knowing that you're going to be baby, sometimes that coddling enables you to become a codependent. Whereas when you are independent and you got to be a free thinker and you got to go get it yourself, and you have less restrictions and the pay is 10 times as much, you are usually persuaded to go do what you got to go do. And that's who I always have. But the surprise is over with, because the surprise was really this. I made goals for myself. Somewhere in 2023, I seen things were not lining up with what I had wanted initially for the vision for my life when I had joined my union. So fast forward, it gets about the middle of 2023, I'm looking at things and saying, well, you know what are my personal goals? Because I understand I put people before me because I'm always looking for solutions to problems. So if you have a conversation with me, I'm actively listening with the intent to strategize and figure out something regarding our courtship, relationship, things of that nature. So I said that to say this. I had a moment and realized that I do need to put myself first. So I made a TikTok this morning, and I'm gonna share it with you. It really resonated with me because it was like the moment I started to really love myself more than I love that person's problems, this person's ongoing issues, this person's struggle, the more I really started to understand that this is me versus me. And if I don't stop these active voices for suggesting, have compassion, think about someone else and think about me, then I'm going to be in a predicament that I cannot foreseeably see myself getting out of. Like if I stop everything right now, I'm good. And that's like kind of where my mind is at. 40 years of running life, 40 years of having the opportunity to engage and figure out things. Half of that stuff was not even applied because when you live in the moment, you don't actively set out to notate, take notes, write down things, and come with solutions and say, okay, is this person for me? Is this situation right for me? Do I really optimally see this as the solution to my problems? These are things I never thought to think about nor discuss because I was self-mentoring myself, meaning that before I grasped YouTube and grasped the books and learned about what T.D. Jakes and John C. Maxwell and the countless other inspiring, influential leaders of the church brought to my acknowledgement, I was dumbfounded because my grandfather passed away when I was 10. My father was more so of a weekend parent. My uncles had their lives, and my mother was working 2-3 jobs while my grandmother was ministering the congregation. Did I have sit downs where people poured into me? Yes and no, because the pouring into me was having continuity with my family at the table while watching in the heat of the night. It wasn't more so about Jonathan, do this, and this is how you're going to elevate yourself like I pour into my daughters. But that's not to sit there and say that they were not actively trying to do something for me for the greater good. It's just sitting there saying that the style in which they approached me was the best style for them at the time, which in turn, I have come to my own theories and say I need to be a little bit more proactive because at 40, I see some of my emotional shortcomings. And my emotional shortcomings was one, me not addressing, dealing, and talking, communicating, and learning how to actively talk with others, as well as I actively decided to work out when I got diagnosed with diabetes. So, long story short, let's dig down the rabbit hole and let's discuss these 27 different emotions because we all have them. We just have them more actively with different emotions than other emotions, but we all have range. I can hold my eye and almost start to form a tear, which is something I just started doing because my emotional receptors for my tear ducts were not working for years. But the more we use these tools, the better we become. So right now, surprise, you learning the first of 27 different tools that we will be discussing in my daily and whenever. P. Y'all really thought I wasn't gonna say it. Skraitup. And that's SKRAITUP exclamation point. Boom. I don't know why I even gotta say this, but I stopped being faithful to you when I finally learned how to be faithful to myself. Straight up.